I'm Harveen Bedi. I'm a leadership career coach at answerwhatnext.com. I've got about 25 years plus experience overall, and out of which 17 years I was heading various recruitment businesses of Naukri.com. And I started with the Quadrangle Executive Search, formed Naukri, had shortlisting services, Naukri Premium, even headed up part of Naukri's resume services for 1 or 2 years. And I now do leadership coaching for leaders on how to live their lives more meaningfully and fulfillingly. And I'm on a mission, that's my personal mission I've taken, that I want to make the careers and lives of 1 lakh people more meaningful and fulfilling. Well, I also consult InfoEdge in the CSR space, and where I work with some of the non-profits to maximize value and impact. And now I would like to welcome the panel, the stalwarts of the IT industry. Some of them have been in recruitment for more than 20 years. And I would first like to start with Mr. Kiran Deshpande. Mr. Kiran Deshpande was the co-founder of Mojo Networks, and he was the former CEO of Tech Mahindra. He's got about 41 years of experience spanning across geographies, across entrepreneurship, software research, business development. He started his career with TCS. He's a IIT Bombay and BITS Pilani and IIT Bombay pass out. Started his career with TCS. He's also an angel investor and on board of a number of startups in the computer science, semiconductors, and AI space. He's also mentoring startups. He was the TiE Pune president for 4 years, from 2015 to 19. And he's just recently, his company has got acquired by Arista Networks. His company was into Wi-Fi at large scale. Thank you, Mr. Kiran Deshpande, for being there.
Thank you.
Let me move on to Mr. Atul Sehgal, who's the VP Talent Acquisition for Infosys. So all those who have been applying for Infosys and not hearing back, he's the guy who will answer all your queries. And he's been there for 2 decades in the recruitment industry. He's worked with companies like Polaris, Zensar, and he's currently heading the lateral hiring for Infosys across India geography. And as a hiring leader, he handles all volume requirements also, which runs into thousands, as well as niche requirements, which are hard to find. His core expertise is in designing, implementing hiring strategies, technology transformation, and initiatives. He loves playing with 2 boys in his free time. And this is, I was talking to him earlier, and I think this is the first time with his initiative, Infosys has started onboarding people virtually. He'll talk about that later. And now let me move on to Mr. Vikas Baghel. Mr. Vikas is the DGM HR of talent acquisition, talent supply in HCL. He heads this, he's leading the Center of Excellence in Global Talent Supply. He's over 15 years of experience, and he's done very interesting work. He currently heads AI/ML based global talent supply chain. And he's part of the person who's designed HCL's own social network, which was called HCL Meme. And he's also a part of the project, a program leader, as well as a project head for Tech Recruit, which is again an HCL's part of application management software, which has won the prestigious Brandon Hall of Fame award in the US and Business World HR Award. What is happening? How is the COVID-19 crisis redefining the jobs in the industry? Start with Mr. Kiran Deshpande. What do you think is happening, or what are the specific trends in the IT industry related to COVID-19?
Thanks, Arvind. If you really see the industry is constantly moving. So I'll sort of broadly describe to you from a job perspective where the jobs are, what is happening there. if you see, there is a large IT companies, as you mentioned, Infosys, HCL, TCS, Wipro, and large number of them. So those are the organized IT jobs, and there are multiple types within those organizations. There is a significant number of jobs which are coming up in startups, and it'll be interesting to note that startup, whether it is in IT or not, IT is a part of every startup. So whether startup is in food, travel, anything else, software is always a part of it. So there are jobs there. Mobile application development is not owned by large companies. It's more distributed, democratized. And new jobs are being created outside this whole domain. So the jobs exist. Now coming to where the jobs are coming, I think jobs are coming in new areas where the technology is creating jobs. You take artificial intelligence, you take robotics, you take machining, you take controls, speech recognition, content development, integrating different aspects into systems. All of those jobs are coming. Digital marketing. Having said that, there are jobs which are disappearing also because of the automation. You take middle management, supervision, those kind of jobs are going away, but these jobs are being created. And I'm sure other panelists will tell you that many of the large IT companies continue to hire. It's just that their approach to hiring is changing. And the second big trend is the work from home, which to me is actually a big opportunity. That gives us freedom to work from anywhere, and for anyone, not just Indian companies, but any company anywhere. So I think those are the opportunities. Broadly, I would put it in that
Sure.
bucket.
Sure. Let's move on to Vikas. Vikas, what do you think are the specific trends you see in the IT industry?
Well, so I think first of all, like, am I audible? Everything is fine.
Okay? Yeah.
All right, great. So thanks for having me, Harveen and Naukri. And I think it was very noble thought to have this topic. And I'm glad to see there are 500 people who have already joined in. So just to give some perspective from information technology industry perspective, I think we need to look at in last 2 months when the whole world was in lockdown, there was still significant business have been taking place. And it has been taking place because of all the technology advancement we have made over the years. We could not have, we cannot fathom to think that 15 years back, we could have 191 countries locked down and still schools, universities, and colleges will impart the knowledge to students across the world. It is possible because we have these technologies in place. And I think as far as IT is concerned, we have been developing some of these technology which will keep us afloat it has kept us afloat during the COVID, and it will pave the way after the COVID as well. Cloud, for example, which makes you work borderless. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, 3D printing, and all of this is still going to be trend. The whole remote, as Kiran pointed out, the whole remote working scenario where typically 40% workforce even after the COVID is going to work remotely, which means information security, for example. How do you ensure that the security of your data while employees working outside office premises? Those jobs are still going to be there, and they're going to be of more significance and importance. Similarly, all those tech support jobs, when there's so many people are going to work out of home, how do you ensure that when there's a technical snag, somebody jumps in and solve it as elastic, as fast as you've been doing in offices? Jobs like, for example, the whole entertainment industry. The augmented reality and virtual reality has made us possible. We have seen all those, concerts being done by musicians across the world. There have been, these museums who have been giving virtual tours, and people have been paying for it. So I think as far as IT is concerned, in my personal belief, I still believe in the near term there could be impact, and I think the devastation COVID has caused, there are still countries which are reeling in and trying to come over, including India, and therefore in near term there will be impact. But in the longer run, I still see this as a silver lining. For example, the adoption of the digital platforms, which would have taken 5-10 years for us, we have done it in 2 months. So I think we should look at it the positive side. And as far as IT is concerned, in the long term, I think people are still going to see green pastures, and we will have jobs for the taking.
Sure, sure. Thanks for your views. And Atul, what would be your views on what are the specific trends you are seeing in the IT industry due to COVID?
Thanks, Arvind. Thanks for having me here. Let me start with a quote. I was interacting with one gentleman during the initial days of COVID, and he mentioned a quote which seems to be very, very relevant. I think it was said by Lenin, where in decades where nothing happened, and then there are weeks where decades happen. So here we are, right? All of us have been marred by something called act of God, and so resonates with the movie Oh My God, right? Which was all about the act of God. We see new terminologies cropping up. AC has become after Corona, BC has become before Corona. So that's the new rage nowadays. See, it has impacted us in a lot of ways, right? We are seeing a lot of behavioral changes. I'm not a kind of person who used to be at home, but for the last 2 months, me along with everybody, at least in India, have been confined to be at home, right? So we have learned to stay at home. We have accepted, like Vikas also mentioned, Kiran also touched the point, we have accepted that digital economy is going to dominate our future, right? Many of us, have been aligned to the digital economy. But if you look at it, 70% of the Indian population was not aligned. But I think in last 2 months, a larger section of our society, they have accepted digital economy. So that's our future now. There are a lot of tools available, technology tools. The new ones have come up, so the habits have changed, right? We have got used to new ways of working. That's how it is. From the organization's perspective and specific to the IT industry, they are trying to explore new ways of doing business, right? Work from home is one. You look at it, most of the organizations, they quickly switched to work from home, and more than 90% of their workforce, they started operating out within a week's time. So that was something, a drastic change which the industry has gone through it, right? The organizations are thinking about how to run their business for future, because we all know uncertainty is going to remain for some time. There may be negative growth in the organizations, which is possibly we are going to see, but that's going to happen. But from the organization point of view, what is more important today is communication. Communication within the organization. Harveen, interaction within the teams or interaction with the business have gone up significantly. And that's going to play a key role beside the digital aspect which is coming into the play.
Sure. And now let me come to the next question, which is how should IT job seekers prepare for a post-COVID era? Because now we've seen that what has happened in the industry is that, yes, there's a lot of adaptability, which we've seen. The people have started working from home, and and there are technologies, like you said, cloud, robotics, info securities, and tech support, which will keep demanding very different kind of the demands will be very different from what they've been till now. So if I come and say, how should the IT job seeker prepare for a post-COVID era? So let's start with you only, Atul. What do you think?
So Harveen, in last 20 years, right, and Vikas briefly touched this point, we have seen 2 recessions, right? One in 2002 and one in 2008, 2009, right? You look at it, how the industry has revived, how we have rebounded, right, post those recessions. This is where we are as of now, right? With the COVID, we have already into a recession, into a massive recession, and hence the people are losing out jobs. That's a reality. So job market would continue to be ambiguous, and even once the COVID gets over, the industry starts reviving, it's gonna be ambiguous for some time. So we need to accept it, embrace it, and start preparing for it. That's gonna be key for us, right? Organizations largely would focus on the internal talent for some time. They would look at grooming the talent, reskilling, upskilling the internal talent, because obviously their focus would be to minimize the bench strength and thereby improve their margin profit. But having said that, with this, if you look at it largely, to start with, market would be flooded with the profiles who did not make it to the increased level of competency in their current organization, one, and obviously with the people, unfortunately, who have lost our jobs due to this COVID scenario. Now, what's going to happen is that the number of jobs are definitely going to shoot up post-COVID, but at the same time, the number of applicants also going to go up, which means we will have an increased filtration process. So our evaluation process is going to be more stringent, and they would be far more focused on quality. So the job seeker will have to revisit their fundamentals. They will have to upskill and be a thorough subject matter expert. That's going to be the key. They will have to showcase creativity, innovation, and tech savviness, critical thinking, and flexibility. That's going to be another key, right? And I'm just hoping that economies probably they will become predictable in some time. So that's going to be very, very important for me. Also, this is the right time for people to work on their emotional intelligence and soft skills. They need to invest over here. So to me, in a nutshell, Harveen, if you ask me, learnability is the key. So utilize this time to learn, unlearn, and relearn, and come out, far more stronger post the COVID era.
What would you like to add to that, Vikas, on how should the IT job seeker prepare to the post-COVID era?
I think, first of all, one of the advices I will give is, which is, one of the things which I have witnessed as a recruiter, that typically a candidate in the desperation of getting a job will post and pray, which means every job under the sun, he will go and apply. I would say stop doing it, because at one point it was a candidate-led market. Now after COVID, as Atul was pointed out, there is going to be a flood of resume, which means that the tables have turned. The employers will have more choices. There are more candidates, and therefore there are going to be more filters, very stringent way of filtering. So for candidates, since they have time in hand, there are a few things they should do. Don't stick with a cookie cutter approach where you just send your resume and cover letter with every email ID you can find out on LinkedIn. Try and be more innovative, and try and do something which will make you cut above the rest, which could be make a video resume, where people can see who you are, what you think, what has been, what are the achievements you have done, or update your profiles. You have time in hand, and update your profiles, tailor it to the job you want to apply for. Don't just say that, okay, I have one resume which is going to meet all the job description. That's not going to happen, because more and more machines are getting deployed, which runs on an algorithm to match job description to the resume. And therefore you need to tailor-made to say, if this is the job description where these are the skills required, I need to tailor-made my resume accordingly. And third is, make the list of your skills and expertise, and then decide which is the kind of job you want. List down the jobs and companies where you want to apply for. Do your own research. And in your own research, you will find out what is the company looking for at this point. Some of the companies may be hiring particular skills. Some of the companies may not be hiring. But I think it doesn't harm if you do your own research. And when you're in front of hiring manager or recruiter, you can showcase your research, the knowledge that you've gained through research. That will make you more, that gives a signal to the hiring manager and the recruiter that the guy has done his homework. He really wants to do this job. He understands our culture. He has read about our company, instead of somebody who's just walking in and, I'm going to 10 companies and I'm giving same speeches. So I think this is the time for us to do a bit of introspection, get your house in order, do these few things. As Atul was pointing out, there are enough material and information available on the internet, which as a job seeker you can leverage. And third thing is be flexible. I think one of the things I'd like to point out is that be flexible about your salary, be flexible about your location preferences, be flexible about your employment opportunities. And each one of us can assess ourselves and say, am I in a situation to command something, or should I be okay with the flexibility because my job has really impacted in the industry and may not be coming up. So therefore I should pivot to some other role. So these are the few things I will give as advice to the job seekers.
Very, very well said. Very aptly pointed out, Vikas, that people need to now specifically apply to the jobs which their skill sets are, I'm saying, and they have to do a lot of introspection. Kiran, what would you like to add to this? How should the IT job seeker prepare for the post-COVID era?
Okay, I think I agree with 100% what Atul and Vikas have said. I don't know whether I'm, suitable to answer this question, because I never sought a job. I was headhunted 2-3 times, and that's how 42 years passed. But let me sort of share with you a few things, picking up from what Vikas said. When you make a resume which is written, video, photograph, everything, make sure it is clean, good English, speaks clearly about you as a candidate. Today, we see a lot of resume where you feel like saying, if this is how they have written the resume, I don't even look at this candidate. So people have become too careless about this, if I can be very blunt. That's one part. Second thing which I say is, again, Vikas said, many times, especially in IT, I'm expecting 20% rate, 30% raise. I actually throw those resumes out. Because your change is very important. If you're seeking a job, very important. You need to know what you want to do. And that must reflect in every communication you have with the company, that I'm a developer, I'm a designer, I want to get into management, I have whatever else you want, it must reflect. Because seriousness of what you're communicating through your resume will definitely make sure that you have a better chance. Take career in your hand. There was a time when this was a candidate driven, as Vikas says. Today it is not. So you have to think about, you're going to have to earn your role rather than say, here is where I get recruited by Infosys and HCL and they're going to look after me. Nobody's going to look after you other than you yourself. So all of these are very important. I must also say that, find out what is the fundamental, people seem to chase a few buzzwords and they come up and you don't know anything about it. And, then you fail at different stages. In our time, when I was there, it was a 10-minute interview at IIT Bombay after we passed the written test and we were inside TCS. It was 10 minutes, and those 10 minutes, 5 minutes, I asked them question rather than the panel asking me question. So we were kind of lucky. But today, Atul and Vikas tell you there are multiple rounds of interview, and sometimes I don't understand why there is so much need to interview so much. Because I'm a more intuitive hirer that I can find out in 5 minutes, do I want or do I not? Having said that, if that is the interview process, then you have to go through that process and prepare yourself for it. Very important, if you're only looking for salary increase, please don't change your job. It has to be a role-based in change, then it makes sense to change.
Very, very wise words said by all our three panelists, that I'm saying, if I were to sum it up, flexibility, learnability, and understand your skill sets.
Yeah.
Whatever you're good at, how can you do that more? And what Kiran also mentioned, I would like to reword it, is that how can I add more value to the company rather than I need more salary?
Right.
Because salary is a typically byproduct of you adding more value.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for your views. And now I come to one hot topic, which is work from home. We've all been talking about. Do you foresee that COVID-19 crisis will turn the work from home into a new reality of the IT industry? So let's start with you, Kiran. What do you see?
I think it is, and I have spoken with very senior leaders over the last few weeks from TCS, from Infosys, from IBM, and this is a big reality, big reality. It has a bigger impact than what we can imagine because, look, specifically in IT, people come from all parts of the country, right from Guwahati to, Ahmedabad to Trivandrum to Kashmir. And now many of them have a choice to relocate to a place which may not be the 5 or 6 big metros. So it gives you flexibility. It also has an impact on the local real estate. I remember a senior real estate developer from Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum area said, I'm now getting ready for people to move to this area and working from here. Why should they be in Pune and Bangalore? So that is one. The other is, I think there is a shift when you work from home. Office is at home, so you need to make sure that that discipline is maintained. And when you finish your work, you need to go back to home. And this all happens in the same real estate, so all of us have to adjust that. By the way, just before I end, my first experience of working from home was in 1985 when I went to Dallas from TCS, and I realized that I was in a totally new city. I had no clue about it. I didn't know where to set up my office. So I told my wife, I'm going to work from home for 3-4 months. and then look for an office. I have no idea where am I going to be having the office. And the next was in London in 2011 when I was filling in for our senior vice president Europe. And that's the time when I had an apartment very close to central London. But all of us have worked from remote places, hotels, homes. So we just have to make that happen. But it's an amazing thing that is happening to India, especially because it might just decongest our cities and make India a better place to live.
Wow, yes, it is definitely going to decongest.
And it is happening in IT industry from 50% to 90%. And I think Vikas and Atul can share their own company. What exactly are they doing? All of them are doing it.
So let's come to you, Atul. Tell us about Infosys. Will work from home, do you think, will be a reality in Infosys?
Harveen, it's already a reality now. Let's accept it, right? Though in my 20 years career, unlike Kiran, this is the first time I'm working from home, right? Because I had no choice. So I was forced to work from home. It was very difficult to adjust, but now I guess we all have tuned ourselves to it, right? Because that's a way forward for us. You look at it now, most of the organizations have embraced it, and that's how they've been driving their business, at least in the last 8 to 10 weeks. Right? So that's something I think everybody has managed it beautifully. From the IT industry point of view, they are already seeking a legislation to make 50% of workforce to enable them to work from home. Now that's going to be a big change for all of us, right? All of us heard TCS making that statement, say around 1 month ago or something, right? Wherein, if I'm not wrong, close to 75% of their workforce they want to be at least remotely working, right? So that's going to be a big shift. HCL Technology also, if I'm not wrong, probably Vikas can also add to it. They also are seeing some productivity gain, right? With 50% of work from home, something of that sort. Okay, is what they are planning to make it. If not for all the employees, but maybe on a rotational basis. So now how it's going to impact the organization? Now that's something very, very good, because it's obviously going to increase your profit margin. Your seating cost per employee would come down, right? Imagine if 50% of my employee workforce is not coming to workplace. Okay? In IT industry or ITES industry, seating cost matters a lot. Now, if I'm going to save money over there, I don't have to work with my facility department in terms of creating more space because my organization has to grow and I have to hire more. So that's going to be a big, big change for all of us. Exceptions obviously is going to be the ODCs or the clients with strict data privacy. Okay, so that exception would obviously be there. Now, what possibly, Harveen, I see is there could be a change. There could be a shift in the way the organization manage their performance management, right? Rather than it's going to be a time-bound activity, probably they may move on to a task-based assessment kind of thing. So we are going to see some sort of changes.
Great. And so Vikas, would love to hear your views on work from home. First of all, how many people, what percentage of your HCL employees would be working from home? And then what do you see post-COVID, will this become a reality?
Yeah, so for us, I think we had 93 to 95% of our workforce was working from home. And luckily in HCL, we have been a bit proactive. I think we started our response team got constituted at the senior management level way back in January 25th. So that way we have been a bit proactive, and we moved everything, all the employees across the world, across 46 countries. And as Atul and Kiran pointed out, I think it is a blessing in disguise if you look at it from different lens. I think we have been in the industry, we have been toying with this idea for a while now, for a decade and a half. But in reality, only 10%, 8%, or 5% people have been working from home, because it was never-ending pilot. We have been kept doing it. Suddenly COVID came and everything moved work from home, and we realized that there is no impact on productivity. People are still could perform as well as they have been doing from the offices. There are no issues around security, except for the things like, as Atul pointed out, there are secure ODCs, there are labs where you have contractual obligation with your client. Those has to be done in premises, in office. But other than that, large chunk of jobs can be done outside the work. And if there is no impact on productivity, I think it's a possible scenario. Most of the companies have already said that they'll try and take large chunk of workforce out of the offices, and they can work out of home, because I think it gives you many other things bundled up. Things like, as Kiran pointed out, uncluttered cities. Delhi, for example, fresh air to breathe. There's no toxicity. Similarly, but I think there are other things need to be done. The labor laws need to be rewritten. All the labor laws, what we have today is written for brick and mortar offices where somebody is confined in premises for 8 or 9 hours. And therefore those laws need to be changed. Some of the taxes which companies were getting, for example, in SEZs and those kind of, government schemes, how do we manage those if 50% workforce are going to be work out of home? So I think these are the things which will emerge as we go along. But broadly, if you ask me, I think as an idea, it is accepted. People have seen, that it works. There is no impact on employee productivity. You can get away with it. And I'm sure that's why, most of the companies have come forth and said that that's a great idea. We will live with it even on post-COVID.
I would totally agree with you. And so just to summarize, I think, yes, IT industry has been the first to adopt work from home, and we have figures like 90 to 95% of employees working from home. And it will definitely lead to, it is a reality which will have a much bigger impact, especially on decongesting our metros.
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, sure, Kiran.
Like, I just picking up on your idea, the IT industry was very quick to say we can do that. And it is because of the DNA of IT companies where you value the work that person is doing. And, we have been very flexible. If you go to other industries or other organizations, bringing that person to the office and monitoring that person throughout that person stay in the office becomes the norm. I think other industries have to pick this model and make people work from. Bringing them to office is actually double loss. First of all, employees don't have flexibility, and you lose, like Atul said, very important. If you can shave the cost, I think it's good for you. You can create more jobs, you can give better salary to people, and you can decongest cities. So this is a huge positive for us. And I think all people, I'm not saying, if you're in the machining, manufacturing, shop floor, you have to go there, but any job that can be done away from the office should go home if possible.
Right. Thanks.
The only thing, Arvind, is, just if you may allow, what Kiran was pointing out, I think Indian, real estate is not equipped for work from home, to be honest. I think all of us, most of our employees may not have luxury to have a workplace in their house, a dedicated place from where they can work. So I think that's the only area, and all our companies, and I think HCL, I can speak, our average age is around 26, 27 years, which means that fresh out of college, 3-4 year experience. Those folks may not have, those workplaces in their houses. So I think that's the only puzzle we need to solve for. And how do, as a corporate, we facilitate them with internet, broadband, laptop, etc., and the scenarios so that they can manage work out of their home. So that is another aspect which we need to, right now we have done because of compulsion, but as we go along, if we need to make it a new normal and sustain it, I think those are the areas also we need to look at.
Actually, so I think innovative real estate developers have picked this cue, and they're saying now we're going to have to redesign homes with working environment, like a study or whatever. So it'll happen, Vikas. I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah. So what we see is that one side, the commercial real estate may go down, but residential real estate with work from home options or built-in systems will start coming up. So by the way, thanks. We've got about 7,000 people watching us on Facebook Live. We have more than 500 people on Zoom. Thanks all of you for tuning in. We're just discussing how the COVID-19 crisis has affected jobs in the IT industry. And thanks for all of you. Please do participate by putting in your questions, comments in the comment box, in the chat box. Coming to the next question. Do you see increase in adoption of newer technologies like AI, ML, and hence opening up newer revenue streams for the IT industry? I'd just let Kiran start with the answer.
I think it will happen, and if you really see there is a significant development in learning systems, artificial intelligence over the last 10 years, but it's been driven by the computing power. I mean, those of us who have been in the industry in computer science knew all of this is possible, but we didn't have computers that were that powerful. Now they are there. And, there are 3 or 4 broad areas where AI has been applied. take speech recognition, image processing, content, natural language understanding, and all that. But it's going beyond that into application use cases. What like Atul was saying, that your resumes are being scanned with all that. The technology is definitely making that happen. I see coming forward quantum, robotics, uh, cyber security, especially with work from home. These are all tremendous areas where jobs would be created, careers will be made. Many more. I can't even think how many are there. And luckily, in computer science and software, we have always stayed with change, which is so fast that we have created jobs, we have created something. So it is a tremendous area where things will happen, and people will make careers. So I can't even enumerate that, but I can give you a long list where technology is being done.
Sure. Atul, what's your take on the newest technologies, and will they create new revenue streams for the IT industry?
Absolutely, Harveen. So we have heard Kiran, right? He has spoken from the mindset of a CEO, right? And the CEO knows what's best for the organization. So what he's saying is absolutely right. I 100% concur with him, right? Because you look at the fact, all our clients, the major sectors, they have invested heavily as far as AI and ML is concerned, right? Massive investments is what they have made. Be it the manufacturing sector or the financial sector, the healthcare, retail, agriculture, any industry, if you look at it right that way. Now, one study says that AI has potential to add close to around 1,000 billion US dollars to the Indian economy by 2035. Now, that's a big thing. That's a big opportunity for all of us. And I'm sure the way we are moving ahead, it's going to be possible for sure. We are seeing evaluation of new apps, new tools almost on a daily basis, right? Arogya Setu is a classic example. Look at it, how Indians have turned it around under the able leadership of our Prime Minister, right? Within few days or weeks, we are up and running with that app. Now, following those footsteps, if I'm not wrong, maybe USGA and Microsoft together have also come up with something similar. I don't know the specifics, but all I'm saying, look at it. In India, we took an initiative to come with this application. So yes, there is no doubt AI and ML, they are the way ahead for us. They've already penetrated into our life. And yes, we have to embrace it and move along quickly with it.
Thanks. Vikas, what about you? What do you think specifically, again, HCL point of view, do you see this increasing new revenue streams and adding more jobs?
Yeah, so for us, we call it a mode 2, mode 3 services, which are futuristic services like cybersecurity, cloud, AI, ML, etc., and digital analytics. Our revenue is, if you look at our last quarter, we have made a significant jump in our revenue from these streams. But overall, I think the way the scenario has changed. For example, the contact-free economy is only gonna, and the digital adoption on the other hand, is only give the new opportunities for some of these technologies for the faster adoption. For example, things like, as we spoke, remote work will give the, cyber security, IT support, and some of those kind of things. Then you talk about, the whole e-commerce boom, and I'm sure some of the people and the companies who have been as a fence sitter and not getting into the bandwagon of e-commerce, now they will get, because, it's all about, having a contact-free delivery of the essential and the other items which you want, which means that the technology in that area will get automatically pushed. Things like, robot delivery, drones, drone have been, we all have seen those images on television where drone is taking dog for a walk in Italy and in some of those countries. So I think some of these will emerge as new use case, and therefore there's going to be more focus on research around drone, robotics, the remote medical consultation, for example. All the personal wearables like smartwatch, like iWatch, etc., is going to keep your vital signs, and then you can share it with your doctor, and doctor can give you a consultation, through remote technology. So I think some of these areas are emerging as a new use case, which was just brewing as an idea, but now we have seen faster adoption, and therefore that's an opportunity for us. Now, obviously, we need to innovate and come up with a new solution for this new normal. How do we do it faster? How do we do it more agile? How do we do it on cloud? So that when the next pandemic comes, for example, God forbids tomorrow, we are ready for it. Supply chain, for example. the whole supply chain has gone down because it was very labor intensive. No digital penetration, even the the heavy dependency on paperwork and all of that. And therefore, we realized that the entire world was standstill. Do we have scope to push some of these industry 4.0 technology like blockchain, like cloud, like security, and transform our supply chain altogether? So I think these are the opportunities. But right now we have some of the basic things to take care of. And as we go along, I'm sure we have bright minds around who will think about it and come up with the new innovative solution, which will be a new proposition for the revenue stream.
Sure. So just to summarize, we see it as a huge opportunity, and Atul mentioned it's as big as 1,000 billion, and adoption of these newer technologies, MI, AI, ML are imminent, and this will also help us prepare for further situations like these, as well as automation will bring about many new jobs along with it. By the way, we've reached 10,000 people over Facebook Live. Thank you all for joining in, and we're glad we are seeing lots of questions coming in. We'll try and take some of them after this is finished, and otherwise we will see how we can take up things in the next webinar. The next question is, I'll start with Atul. How do you plan your talent pipeline now that the market has changed dramatically? In Infosys now, how do you plan your talent pipeline? So, for example, do you still go to, some people are asking, will you still go for campus drives or will you do something else, or what is happening?
So social distancing is a norm nowadays, Harvind, right? Yeah. Okay. All of us need to protect ourselves from an unknown enemy. We don't know where it is lying, right? So obviously, these physical movements, physically interacting with the candidates, okay, we will have to minimize. I mean, we can't make it zero, but definitely we'll have to minimize it. My personal experience, what I believe is that at Infosys probably will bring it down by say around 80 to 90%, at least for next whatever 6 months or 9 months to the time we are confident that we all of us are safe, right? It's not only about our employees, it's not only about the recruiting team, but it's about the candidates also with whom we are interacting with. So we need to ensure that. So obviously we won't have a choice but to lean more on HR technology. That's going to be the future to manage the communication, be it the productivity or the hiring activities as such, right? So that's definitely going to be there. As far as the workforce is concerned, or how we are going to plan the talent pipeline as such, we are going to focus more on the existing workforce. Okay, and then we'll obviously look for the new hiring as far as from the market is concerned. Reskilling, upskilling internally gonna be key, and we are going to minimize our bench. Obviously, that's what we'll have to look at it. Thankfully, we are still hiring. Yes, the volumes have come down for the time being, but hiring still continue to be there at Infosys, right?
Yeah.
So net, we are going to hire remotely as such. Virtually recruiting is going to be.
So basically you're going to shift, there will be less hiring, but you're going to shift it to virtual campus drives, something
absolutely,
like that?
Absolutely. So more focus on automation. Virtually is what we are going to do. See, the campus recruiting season, this is not the right season. Rather, thankfully, we were already done with it when the COVID started. So it's predominantly the lateral hiring which is on, which is happening remotely for all of us. So we will have to do it, right? Just by one suggestion for everybody, in fact, to the organizations, okay, this is not the time to freeze hiring, but this is the time for opportunity hiring, right? There is a lot of talent which is available in the market. The unfortunate ones probably who lost out a job, who can help your organizations in a wonderful way. So I would rather suggest that organizations should look at investing in some of those key talent as such. That's what going to happen. As far as for the recruitment team, you need to be prepared, create the heat maps, keep engaging your talent pipeline digitally. That's going to be very, very important, because it's just a matter of time and we are going to see a V-shaped recovery in terms of hiring.
Right. Vikas, what would you like to add to that? How is your talent pipeline changing because of the current crisis, and how are you planning to hire now?
So, as Atul pointed out, for us also, the first focus is obviously going to be how do we reskill and redeploy our existing workforce. But we are also hiring. Whatever commitment we have made in campus, today only our CHRO has released a statement saying that we're going to honor all of that. So as far as hiring is concerned, obviously, as I said, in near term, there is going to be pressure. There are some, accounts are getting slowed down. And therefore, it will impact hiring. We are not hiring in as much, as the volumes are going to be different, but it's not going to be the freeze that we're not hiring at all. All those premium skills, critical for customer project delivery are still going to be there, and we will still hire them. But yeah, I think we will see some slowdown in quarters. But unlike other industry, IT industry has always been, we were always in fifth gear. So I think from there we will perhaps come back to third gear or second gear, but we'll still hire.
Sure.
But the only thing which will change, Harveen, is, as Atul said, the mode of hiring is going to change, right? So where we used to do those massive recruitment drives where 100 people will walk into our premises, all of that will change. And which means that candidates also need to prepare for it. Some of them may be very comfortable for in-person interview, may not be as comfortable when we're doing a video call, right? And how do you get your personality out when you're doing a video interview? How do you ensure you leave an impression on your hiring manager or recruiter so that you become a preferred candidate than anybody else? You might be very skilled, but let's say if you don't know that art to do that, perhaps you will lose out. So I think they need to also balance out in this new reality.
Sure. So just to summarize, basically the hiring will happen, the mode will change, and candidates, you need to reskill yourself for different modes, for video interviews, and how to bring out the best in a video interview, because that is just going to be a norm from now. And now, since most of you, those who are logged in, more than 10,000 people there and are job seekers, and the people, let's say on Zoom, we are just going to do a quick poll on, can you please share the reasons in case you're looking out for a job change? What are out of these 4 reasons? We're just sharing this poll. This is for the Zoom people, and the people on Facebook Live can see the results later. Can you quickly just put in your comments? Everybody, I want all the 500 people to participate fast. Is it better career opportunities? What are the reasons you're looking for a change of jobs? Is it fear of being laid off? Is it salary cuts by the organizations? Or have you been already laid off? Something others? Or you're not looking for a change? Quick, 30 seconds, 10 seconds left. Yeah, let's see the results, team. So 57% better career opportunities, and there are about 11% who are laid off, and another 7% who have a fear of being laid off. Okay, now I want to take this this segment of people who have a fear of being laid off or are laid off and are looking for a change. What would be your advice, Vikas, to these people who've been laid off or have a fear of being laid off in the IT industry?
So I think, look, even if you're not laid off, you should always keep in mind, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months because we don't know the impact yet. And therefore, you should always carry that degree of risk in your head and then work accordingly. How you make your role indispensable? How do you ensure that your daily routine and the value which you're bringing to the team or the project or the task you're working on, it is beyond, it is beyond just, brushing your teeth kind of job. How do you ensure that, you yourself proactively do something and make your manager realize that this person is not just another person, but he really brings value, beyond the call of duty. That is the first thing you should do. Second is, as I said earlier also, you need to start thinking, how do you pivot your skill? For example, you've been doing certain role or certain kind of job for over a year, but if you see there's a fear of this role is getting automated and not be required in future, what is the skill or what is the role I can pivot to? What is my transferable skill? If I know X, A, B, Z in this particular role, there are other roles where these skills can help me, and therefore I should pivot to that. That is the second thing you can do if you have the fear of being laid off. Third thing I think is as I said, be flexible. Don't say that I will only take permanent job. I will only take job in Noida and Delhi. You need to realize that there is a new reality. If there is a job in Pune, Bangalore, or wherever, you should be willing to go there. And you should be flexible to say that if I'm not getting a permanent job, I'm okay to take contractual job. I'm okay to take a project, because doing something is better than doing nothing. So take that as a project. Do those gig jobs. Learn your skill. Enhance your skill. That is the third thing they can do. Fourth is, I think it is always important. I think some of you, if you have knack of being an entrepreneur, why not try that? If you're trying and you're not getting a job and you have some idea which you have been doing, start it off. I think in today's days and age, and we have seen enough examples where if you have a bright idea, people are willing to put the money. So do that, and if that doesn't work out, you can always come back and take a conventional job. So do that. And so all in all, keep your confidence intact. Don't lose your confidence. Have confidence on your skills. List it down, the skill which you have. List down the jobs which you want to do. List down the companies you want to target. Make your resume tailor-made, and then go for those specific jobs. Don't sound desperate. I think one of the things I will really advise is, don't send those desperate emails to say, hey, I've been laid off, I'm looking for a job, this, that, blah, blah, because that really puts the hiring manager off or the recruiter off. You may have that inside you, but you need to put up a different face to say that I'm confident in my skill, and I don't have a job right now, but give me an opportunity, I'll make it happen. And third is, have patience. That is extremely important. Other thing which I've seen is, when candidate apply for a job and you do not get to hear from recruiter, you will bombard him with call, email, Facebook post, Twitter, and whatnot. Don't do that. Have some patience, because in today's, in last 2 months, things have changed. You don't know what situation recruiter is in, or the company is in, for example. So have that empathy, have some patience. I think these are the things all put together. If you do it, you can withstand this onslaught.
Got it. We're running a little behind schedule. Kiran, what would you like to add to the people who've been laid off? A quick.
Quick. I would say, we're picking up being laid off is not a bad thing. In fact, it might give you the next career, and you may thank your employer for having laid off. See, laid off happens for two reasons. You're not fitting in their scheme of things. So why do you want to be there? Number one. Number two, is it performance? In the first case, go look for where you are actually not a square peg in a round hole, but a round hole. That's what works. And if it was performance, then go back to the drawing board and see what you need to do to make yourself competent. So laid off actually sometimes is a good thing. As a CEO, I can tell you, every day you finish the day, you thank the board for not having fired you, that you can come back next day.
Great. Atul, can you add a quick one for that?
Yeah, Harveen, so quickly, I'll break it into two parts. Personally, focus on your mental health. That's something very important, because this is not the end of road for you. Things will recover. It's just a matter of time. In the short term, manage your finances and plan your expenditures carefully. That's another aspect. Professionally, brush up your skills, reskill and upskill yourself. Need to reflect on your career so that you make even better future choices, like Kiran pointed out, right? Have a target list of roles and the organizations, and apply and prepare accordingly, right? So that's something very, very important. Your stamina to respond to this new situation is the key. Don't forget that. Just hold that to it.
I'll just quickly summarize and put in my thoughts. So understand, there's nothing permanent now in this world. There is nothing called a permanent job. You don't know which company, what is going to happen. And also empathize that no CEO, no business head, no company could foresee this happening. So when you're laid off, understand it is not you that has been laid off, it is the title of the job. So if the company requires lesser Java developers, there's nothing to do with you. And if case it's a performance issue, then figure out what are the skills which you love doing. And then focus on those skills, learn and retrain yourself so that you're the best at it. And there'll be somebody out there who'll be there to hire you. Look at, if you have running cash problems, look at gig economy for the time being. Look at upskilling yourself. Look at short-term assignment projects, temp hiring. And I'm sure you will figure out something once you introspect. And be flexible, like all of them have said. This is for Vikas. Vikas, what is the scope of overseas hiring in the IT industry during these times where all countries have shut down their borders?
So I think for us, we have always been borderless. So if you ask me, IT industry, for example, we may still be hiring those mission critical roles in all the geos, because we have always been equipped with remote hiring, all these technologies in place. So I don't see there is a specific impact, unless, as I said, there is a focus on internal fulfillment than hiring as much as from outside. But as I said, whatever are the critical roles for the customer delivery and the projects, those are still getting hired even at on-site.
Okay. And Kiran, a short question for you. What do you think are the best practices which are being put in place by the IT startup industry to uphold the quality?
See, startups are very, very smart. They're, in terms of cash, quality, people and everything. We are telling startups this year to survive first. First, survive, number one. Number two, they typically hire very smart people where you don't have to do too much of training and all that. You do everything yourself. And if that is the thing that you're going to do, then there is a lot of scope for you. I would say one more thing which I probably might be repeating. See, software, analytics, some of these things are common across industries. So, and startups, all startups need that. So that's what they would be doing.
We're running out of time. One last question for Atul. Atul, a lot of people want to know, are you postponing job offers or are you honoring them the offers which you had given?
Harveen, that's a statement made by our CEO as well. We are going to honor each and every offer, be it lateral or campuses. Yes, there has been some haywire. We've gone haywire in terms of joining dates because we all know the situation was beyond anybody's control. Nobody could foresee it. But we have started onboarding people and we would be reaching out to all the offer pipeline shortly, committing a firm joining date to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Atul. Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Vikas, for your time. And thank you, 10,000 people, for logging in and being there with us. Do share this Facebook Live to people you think it could be useful for. Like, comment, and we're glad we could assist you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Take care.
Have a nice weekend.